Hi, I'm Jason Allen-Paisant, and I'm here to talk to you about my new book, Self-Portrait as Othello. It's my second book of poems, and it's published by Carcanet Press, just like my first one. Self-Portrait as Othello, what is it about? Well, Othello, the Shakespearean character naturally, it's thinking about what would Othello have sounded like? What stories might he have told had he been written by someone who lived and moved in his type of skin, considering the experiences of the time? It's a book that moves into that era of 15th, 16th, 17th century Venice, that era in which a certain reality was taking shape, which is the reality of what we now call racism. Because Othello is that sort of experience of being in a dark-skinned body. I wanted to move in space and time back and from Venice. And that involved literally going to Venice twice in the composition of this book to feel the space. Obviously, clearly a space that is no longer exactly what it was at the time of the early 17th century, but I wanted to think about continuities, traces, lingerings, how being in that physical space of Venice with its architecture, with its history, with its dark-skinned bodies, immigrant bodies, how that experience makes us think about and enables us to reimagine the tale that Shakespeare spins. It's a tale of, one might say, multiracial encounter and love. It's a tale of romance and treachery. It's a tale of aspiration and tragedy. It's a tale of movement across spaces. Now, the border as we know it didn't exist back then in this, as we conceive of it, was not the way it was back then. What we might call an immigrant perhaps is not a word that would have been used at that time, but I wanted to lean into that aspect of Othello, which is his status as a foreigner in Venice. And if he was a foreigner, what language might have been his mother tongue? I wanted to give to Othello that richness, that density of the background that is not spoken about. I wanted to imagine it, to invent it, if you will, which is why John McAuliffe speaks about my book as part ekphrastic experiment, part poetic memoir, because poetic memoir it is. On a certain level, the story is also about me. Othello becomes the figure, the prism through which my own story is refracted, my movement across borders, my status as an immigrant, my movement through Europe, through Paris, through Venice, through Oxford via London, through Prague, and so on and so on. And to think about, as Raymond Antrobus puts it, the inner and outer landscapes of black embodiment. I want to do something unusual, which is read what Raymond Antrobus has to say of my book, a rich and twisty linguistic collection that finally balances the inner and outer space of black embodiment. I like the word twisty because it seems like the perfect word for what I'm trying to do here, with narrative, with storytelling, with language as a way of being and a way of inhabiting the body. Twisty. It moves across and through different languages: Jamaican, Patois, French, a bit of German, Italian, these languages that traverse my experience and my body in different ways. And Othello becomes a shape-shifting character. My Othello, a fluid character that is, for one reason or the other, forced to fit into different spaces, transform to become different things. And it's the reality, but also the joy of that shape-shifting that becomes a big deal to me. And speaking of shape-shifting, the cover is significant. I'm so happy that I got to use this painting by Kehinde Wiley, the celebrated American painter, and his portrait, speaking about portraits here, of, and any Dutch speaker here, come in and correct me, Willem van Heytussen, the 17th century portrait of a Dutch nobleman, is reimagined by Wiley as a black man in contemporary Brooklyn, or America. And when I saw this by serendipity, I was so struck by the similarity of what Wiley was trying to do in the painting to what I'm trying to do in the poems here. It's this kind of shape-shifting, Anansi-ish, fluid, kind of queer kind of character, really. And I wanted to lean into that. And so that's why I chose this painting for the book. And why it chose me, in a sense, because I'm really, really very fortunate to be able to use it. I'm going to end it there. And thank you for listening. To sum it up, it's about language. It's about shape-shifting. It's about negotiating borders and identities, multiple ones. It's about the trickery and tricksterhood of doing that. It's about the joy of shape-shifting and fluidity and of inhabiting multiple languages. It's about encounters between lovers. It's about encounters between nations and identities. It's all of that. It's Othello for the 21st century. I'd just like to read a few short-ish poems from the book, beginning with a prose sequence, if you will. It has no title, but if it were to have a title, it would be What Shakespeare Did Not Write About. What Shakespeare did not write about, the story he was unable to tell. Othello is a real structure of feeling taking shape, which the world had never known. How could it have? The world was not yet world. When he wrote Othello, the slave trade had been happening for 7 decades, with the Pope's blessing. I'm haunted as much by the character Othello as by the silences in the story. Othello the Moor. It was the tax raised from the church in the name of Ferdinand's and Isabella's just and holy war against the kingdom of Granada and Islam that financed Columbus's first voyage to the Americas. 5 centuries later, why does Othello offer up so easy a template for this precarity, for this endless negotiation? Texte, mon corps. Why does it offer up so easy a template for the shame produced in my body? Who is Othello? 1. Raised on the river Gambia, I learnt to row in the Venetian way, dive with amphibian lungs, and fight with hands and sword. Men came looking for us, promising residences on the Canal Grande, estates on the mainland, jobs as condottieri. At 28, I was in Venice. At 30, a commander of land armies. Othello, from Old High German Otto, meaning rich and prosperous. I'm here and I'm striving. Othello dalla Guinea is my name. I stopped in at many ports where sailors cavorted. I stopped in at Venice and it became my home. And now I'll read a section from the opening sequence, which is a long poem and in a way a series of short poems. I see them as either, and I can't see them as one or the other. And this is just a section. A damp floor, and it's to give a different flavor of the book, of its different languages. A damp room on the 3rd floor, École Normale Supérieure. No sound in that hallway but in my blood, how sharply loneliness cuts the body. My woman walks so dirgefully beside me. I will always be a stranger here. The bloody thing is, I didn't realize it. Didn't realize that black was a different language, that poor porous was a different language, that no picket fence, no paper and papa was a different language, that going to the theatre every other night going broke was my new language, to act bourgeois and find my bourgeois style. The plush-carpeted Comédie Française, salle Pleyel for music, opera and theatre, no heads like mine to watch Phèdre die, only one black man in the room who rises from the orchestra to salute me, fist bump in air. One other black man in the room speaks my language, the language of performer to crowd, and wow, did they like it, the looks, trying to find whiteness in my blackness. Come on, brethren, my Jamaican brother says to me, black people don't go opera. You know this. I call you daddy, bois d'ébène, pieces of scattered wood. You break me into a million parts and everything I am is you. I wander in search of you, a trunk of tree reaching my eye faint in the fat of fog. Mon passé est là, qui me montre et me dérobe son visage. Blurred and calm, it stands there between retreat and outline, face keen to speak. Mon avenir est là, qui me tend la main. I try to touch you, the space between outer space and inner music. Disappeared and blasted pieces to the east and west, to the north and south. I go in search of you to touch, to speak light and music, sounds of stars, of space, daddy, daddy, in a my soul case.